Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Unmute Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Charity Hatterley. Today we're diving into something that's essential for every human being. We're diving into the power of celebrating your wins. We're going to talk about why acknowledging your progress matters and how it transforms your mindset. And then I will guide you through 10 reflective questions to help you look back on this year and recognize just how far you've come. So let's dive in. Imagine you're going for a hike. You're climbing a pretty amazing mountainside. And imagine that when you get to the top, instead of looking back at how far you've come, you keep going. Eventually you're going to feel burnt out. You're going to feel like, why am I doing this? Where am I going? Because you just keep trudging along. And that's what happens when we don't look back and celebrate our wins. We forget how far we have come. And often we are filled with this energy of like, wow, this is hard. I'm pushing so hard. And when you don't pause to take a look at the view and see how far you've come, it can lead to burnout, and it can lead to, you don't feel as satisfied with how far you've come and where you are. So taking time to celebrate your wins is just like taking time to enjoy the view as you are hiking the mountaintop. And you don't have to wait until you get to the very peak of Mount Everest before you look back and see how far you've come. You can be at the top of a grassy little hill and look back and say, okay, wow, I did that. That was muddy. That was rocky. I fell down a few times, but I made it this far. And then it fuels you with motivation to continue. There's a story about a marathon runner who hit that dreaded wall around mile 20. Well, first of all, I cannot imagine running 20 miles. That is amazing right in and of itself. But apparently, when you're running a marathon, there's a wall that you hit. It could be either physical or mental. So she was fueled physically. So it was not a physical wall where her body had used up all the energy and she was depleted. But her body ached. And she was starting to think, oh my gosh, I have 6 more miles to go. I don't know if I want to do this. This is too hard. I've already made it 20 miles. That's further than a lot of people make it. So this is probably good enough. And on, her mind began to spiral downward. And for good reason. I think I would totally be in that downward spiral. But instead, she remembered to refocus on celebrating her wins for the next 6.2 miles. She wanted to quit, but instead she started counting each step as a win. She's focused on, oh, nice, I made it 1 more block. Oh, good, I kept running another minute. Okay, my 1 foot in front of the other, I'm going to keep going. Okay, wow, I made it past that tree. And these micro wins helped push her through to finish the race. And when we take time to notice and celebrate progress, even in small increments, it fuels us forward, especially when you hit that figurative wall that makes you feel like quitting. There are a lot of walls in our life that we face. I can think of a time when I hit that figurative wall. And, well, there's many times that I've hit that wall, but this time in particular was in 2019, and I had just published the first edition of my book, Perspectives, and I had produced my second annual event, the Ignite Your Champion event, and I had keynoted and also was on the TEDx stage. It was like back to back to back. So it was like from March, April, and May, 3 months right in a row, boom, 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 bunch of big things that I had done. And then in addition to that, of course, taking care of my family, my 4 kids, my husband, and all the amazing things that they do so that I could be there to support them, I was running on fumes. I was so burnt out, and I decided I'm done. I don't need to do these events. I don't need to speak anymore. I'm done writing. I'm done coaching. I don't want to do any of this. I just want to sit home and watch the wallpaper dry. And thankfully, I had an amazing business coach who sat me down and asked me some tough questions. From that conversation, there were 2 things that were very key in helping me to recover from that burnout and then also prevent myself from getting to that place of burnout in the future. And one of them, of course, is celebrating my wins. I'm going to get to that in just a second. The other thing he told me, because I want to recommend this to you as well, is he recommended that I read the book called Rest, How to Get More Done by Doing Less. And there were so many key things in there. There's been ways that I've figured out how to simplify what I do, but it was in those moments of boredom, in those moments of rest. So I am, since 2019, and reading that book, I have become an advocate for power naps. And that could be a whole other podcast, but I just want to throw that in here. Now, back to the topic of celebrating. The other thing that my business coach at that time told me was to celebrate my wins. And he didn't say it in that way. He said, Charity, have you looked back at what you've accomplished this year so far and what you've accomplished last year and the previous year? Like, have you taken time to really just soak all that in? And I was like, what do you mean? I mean, I've got this, and all these things I want to do. Well, I'm not done yet. He reminded me to just sit back and, as I'm telling you, imagine you're on that hike. And when you take time to sit and refuel yourself, get a snack, get a drink of water, and then look back at how far you've come and then really enjoy the view, it fuels you forward. So if you're feeling burnout, if you're feeling like you hit that wall, take time to rest and also take time to celebrate your wins and your progress, how far you've come. Let's talk about why it's so hard for many of us to celebrate our wins. You might be thinking, well, I don't have time to celebrate, or it feels so self-indulgent. Well, I don't want it to go to my head. I get it. And sometimes we mistake being humble for hiding our progress. We think that celebrating our wins, it's going to go to my head, and maybe that's too prideful. But honestly, this mindset can trap you in a cycle of burnout and dissatisfaction. Celebrating does not mean that you're done growing. Celebrating doesn't mean it's going to your head or that you've done it all by yourself. You can celebrate and feel gratitude for those who have helped you on your journey as well. But what celebrating does mean is you're acknowledging the effort and progress and the support and help and inspiration that got you there. Celebrating is about building a strong foundation for the goals ahead. It fuels you forward. And guess what? This practice does not just benefit you. When you celebrate your wins, you can model that same behavior for your team and your family, your community. It can create a rippling effect when you create a culture of celebrating each other's wins. Now, sometimes thinking about celebrating your wins can feel like, well, I didn't really do anything. So one thing that helps me is some reflection questions. These are one of the best ways to uncover the wins that you may have overlooked. So I have 10 powerful questions to help you review your year. I'm going to read these questions for you. You might want to grab a journal and cozy up to your favorite drink and take your time with these. And you can pause this podcast as I read each question. Here are the questions. Number 1, what is one challenge you overcame this year that you never thought you could? Number 2, what new skill or knowledge did you gain that you are excited that you have? Number 3, what goals did you accomplish, even if they were a small step toward a bigger vision? 4, how have you grown as a person compared to where you were a year ago? 5, what is one moment that brought you joy this year or made you feel excited or proud, and why? 6, who supported you this year, and how did their encouragement or collaboration impact your journey? 7, what fears or doubts did you confront, and how did you handle them? 8, what risks did you take, and how did they contribute to your growth? 9, how have your relationships or connections evolved in a positive way? And 10, what's one thing you learned about yourself this year that surprised or inspired you? Now, as you answer these questions, give yourself permission to feel proud of yourself, to embrace the progress and to celebrate. And celebrate doesn't mean you need to go take a trip to Hawaii. You can totally do that if that's in your budget and you want to do that. Celebrating can just mean acknowledging, but make sure you feel gratitude for what you've done. You've done more than you realize, I promise you that. And celebrating your progress is what sets the stage for even greater growth in the year ahead. And remember that growth is not about perfection. It is about progress. So take time to honor what you have accomplished this year, no matter how big or small it seems. If you feel inspired, I would love to hear about your wins. Share them with me on social media or email me directly. I'm here to celebrate with you. Thanks for listening to the Unmute Yourself podcast. Until next time, keep speaking up, keep celebrating your wins, and keep stepping into your power. Let's make next year your best yet.